Ever feel like the world is just a lot? Or maybe it's not even the world, it's just the noise in your own head. Well, today we're diving into a book called The Power of Awakening, and it makes this really wild claim. It says the answer to all that chaos, it isn't out there somewhere. Nope, it's already inside of you.
So where does this all start? Well, the book doesn't pull any punches. It points right at the tough stuff. You know, the violence you see on the news, the ecological crises we're all facing, and it asks this really pointed question. Is all of this just bad luck, a bunch of random, separate problems? Or is it possible they're all symptoms of the same deep underlying issue, a pattern that's been going on for like thousands of years?
And that kind of leads to the big question, right? When you've got your own stuff to deal with, anxiety, stress, whatever, and then you layer on top all the world's problems, man, where are you supposed to find any real hope? The book's take is that the old solutions, the usual places we look, they're just not working anymore.
All right, so if the old ways are broken, what's missing? What's the secret ingredient? Well, the core idea here is that we've kind of lost contact with a super important part of ourselves, as a culture and, as individuals. So let's dig into what that actually is.
This missing piece has a name in the book, Xingling. Now, the best way to think about it is like your true spiritual nature, your essential self. And the key thing is, it's not something you have to go out and get. It's more like a pilot light that's always burning inside you. It's just there, in every single person, and it has nothing to do with any specific organized religion.
Okay, and this is a really, really important point the book makes. It draws a super clear line between this inner spirituality and organized religion. See, Xingling is about your direct, personal experience. It's the idea that the truth isn't something you're told, it's something you are. Religion, on the other hand, is presented as an external system that's trying to describe that truth. So what's the bottom line? One says the power is already in you. The other often says you need to find it from somewhere or someone else. And understanding that difference is everything, because it leads us straight to the book's big solution. If the problem is that we've lost touch with our inner nature, well, the solution is to wake up to it, to awaken.
So what does awakening even mean? The book is super clear on this. It is not about converting to something. It's all about that big aha moment. That sudden, deep realization where you just get it, that the divine, the source of everything, isn't some distant thing in the sky. It's actually the very stuff you're made of.
And you know what's wild? This isn't some brand new, out there idea. Not at all. It's actually the secret, core teaching of so many of the world's spiritual traditions. I mean, the kingdom of heaven is within you, or how Atman and Brahman are one in Hinduism, or that all of us have Buddha nature. They all use different words, different metaphors, but they're all pointing to the exact same thing.
And it's not just ancient wisdom either. This idea pops up in, of all places, modern psychology. So, you've probably heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Food, safety, love, all that. But here's the cool part that most people don't know. Later in his career, Maslow added a final level above self-actualization. He called it self-transcendence. He realized we have this deep, built-in need to connect to something bigger than just our own individual lives.
Okay, so let's recap. The problem, we're disconnected from our true selves. The solution, we need to awaken. The next obvious question is, how? How do you actually do that? Well, the book lays it out not as a magic pill, but as a journey, a really personal one.
It's basically described as a classic hero's journey, like in the movies. But this whole adventure happens inside your own mind. It kicks off with the calling, that little voice inside that says, "Is this all there is?" Then comes the trial. This is the tough part, where you have to face your own baggage, your fears, your limiting beliefs. But if you make it through, you get to the insight, that incredible aha moment of awakening. And finally, there's the return, which is all about taking that new understanding and actually using it in your everyday life.
And here's the twist. The biggest villain in this story, the biggest dragon you have to slay, it isn't out there. It's you. It's our own resistance. That same psychologist, Maslow, he had a name for it, the Jonah complex. It's this crazy idea that we're not just afraid of our failures. We are absolutely terrified of our own potential, of how powerful we could be. We literally run away from our own destiny. Isn't that something?
So, let's get practical. What's the payoff? What happens when you actually face that fear and go on this journey? What does an awakened life look like in the real world, with bills to pay and jobs to do?
The book gives some pretty amazing examples.
There's this one story about a CEO, Lin Fuhai, and for him, this wasn't just some philosophical idea. The results were concrete. His business actually started to lead the pack, right in the middle of a financial crisis. His high blood pressure? Gone. And his relationship with his wife? He said it felt like they were newly married.
Then there's the story of a medical doctor. A woman of science. She was feeling totally frustrated, hitting the limits of what medicine could do. But this path opened her up to a totally different kind of healing, something deeper that brought this incredible peace to her and her patients. We're talking about something way beyond just treating symptoms.
And what about the person who, from the outside, looks like they have everything? There's a story from a successful lawyer who said, his life looked great on paper, but inside he felt empty, anxious. He says this journey completely changed that. It transformed his marriage, and he suddenly had this energy at work that he lost years ago. He just looks back and says the whole thing is unbelievable.
So the message from all these stories is pretty clear. This isn't about floating away on a cloud and escaping from your problems. No, it's about getting the power to change your life from the inside out, to change your health, change your relationships, change your work. It's positioned as the ultimate key to creating real, lasting change in your life. Which brings us to the final and maybe most important point the book makes, this whole awakening journey. It's not just for some special few, monks on a mountaintop. The claim is that right now, in this age, this is available to everybody, to anyone. The path is there, the map is in your hands. So the only real question is, are you ready to start?